Welcome back to our learning session. Welcome back to our statistics learning session. Today, we'll go through the first example, and the heading of this example is Does at most a third of the American get at least some news from YouTube? Let me give you a brief overview of the problem we are trying to solve. According to a survey conducted in 2017, around 4,971 randomly sampled Americans 32% report to get at least some of the news on YouTube. Can we conclude that at most a third of Americans get at least of the news from YouTube? So this is a question of variability or a fluctuation problem between true true mean and observed mean or mean of the sample. Now I wonder why they are conducting a survey. They may be conducting a survey for various reasons. Maybe this survey was conducted, sponsored by the YouTube to see what percentage of people are looking for news from versus YouTube versus tweets versus let's say some other news media outlets as NPR, New York Times, etc. But anyway, now we need to solve this problem that we have been presented. How do we solve this problem? We can solve this problem by modeling. First, the variable we want to model Bx, and we have to assume that these variables are independent, and observation of these variables are independent and identically distributed. That's the assumption we make. Secondly, we assume that the distribution for these variables is Bernoulli. Why Bernoulli? It is Bernoulli because either they watch from YouTube or they don't watch from YouTube. Each observation is either they is one is one if YouTube, zero if not YouTube. That's why it is a Bernoulli random variable. That's why it is a Bernoulli. That's why it is a Bernoulli random variable. Now, question is, now the question is, how do we once we know this is a Bernoulli random variable, the sample size we have is 4,971. When we take the mean or average sample average of these observations, then we get sample as 0.32. Next step is to determine the null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. Here, the null hypothesis is null hypothesis is is P equal to 0.33. That's a null hypothesis. Alternative hypothesis is P is not equal to 0.33. And we start by standardizing the sample average for our random variable, which is this. How do we standardize it? We need to subtract the mean under null. We'll subtract the mean under null and divide by standard deviation. Expectation of our random variable x is 0.33. Variance of x is 0.331 minus 0.33 divided by n. Once we standardize it, then by Shklarski's theorem, it is approximate. It is normal asymptotically. It is normal asymptotically. Now, what we do is we replace the sample average with what we observed. We put the we replace with the value of what we have here, that is 0.32, and n will be 4971. And here, once we do the calculation, we see that it's approximately minus 1.5. Now let's look at the bell curve here, minus 1.5. This is a bell curve with 1 z-score, minus 1, minus 2, and minus 3, 1, 2, and 3. It is minus 1.5, somewhere around here, and it falls under 95% range. This falls under 95% range. That is, there is 95% probability that this can occur. Therefore, we can say that we cannot reject the null hypothesis. Therefore, we have to say that P is equal to 0.33. Let me quickly summarize what we discussed today. We discussed about an example for hypothesis testing. We look at whether at most 1/3 of the all Americans get at least some of the viewing of news on YouTube, and we use the hypothesizing way to see whether this is actually true, and we also use standard Gaussian distribution to know whether this is probable. That's all for today. I will see you in next learning session. Thank you so much.